You're a person that has seen everything from refugee camps to boardrooms. From the outside, many people know you as this high-level manager at IKEA. Your life, it reads like a movie script.
And there we learned to assemble Kalashnikov, throw hand grenades, and that we are talking at the age of 10. When I woke up, my brother was not there. I yelled and yelled. They said, if somebody is willing to travel 5 hours per day to work 8 hours, first salary I received, 23,500 crowns. I couldn't believe I was worth it. My phone calls, she's dead. That's the only thing I heard.
He was 9 years old.
She smuggled him out and they went to Colombia. When will this stop? Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
If you could talk to your 12-year-old self in that refugee camp, what would you tell him? Here's a quick word of appreciation before we go on with the episode. I often get asked how we keep Besser werden going and manage to bring you great conversations week after week. This is only possible because of an amazing core team, many volunteers, and a growing community that believes in impact, transparency, and long-term success beyond individual achievement. We stand on the shoulders of giants. This episode of Besser werden is powered by our main sponsor, Shopware. Shopware is Europe's leading open-source e-commerce platform, helping companies build sustainable and scalable digital businesses. A partner that shares our vision and values. And now, back to the episode. Farzin, how are you today?
Excited, but also nervous, and look forward to the discussion. Really look forward to it, I must admit.
I can't express how grateful I am here today to sit in front of you, because the kind of conversation we're about to happen will change me for sure going forward, and I hope we can have an impact on some of our people out there. And I'm pretty confident we will, because we will talk about things that we've never talked about out there. And truly delighted to have you in the show today with me for this very special episode in English with you. You're the kind of person for whom I would make such an exception. And what's been on your mind lately, Farzin?
Well, a lot of things, to be honest, but I would say one thing that I basically get up every morning and think about, that is my son, Simon. I'm pretty sure we will talk about it and explaining why that is the case. But I met him after nearly 10 years for the very first time during summer last year. And it doesn't go one day that I now afterwards where I get up and I don't think about him. And then just looking at my Gmail account, just hoping that there is a mail or some signs. That's quite that is definitely on my mind. Then meaning of life. As you get older, I guess it comes to us all at some point of time. That's also on my mind. And of course, it's, I know maybe it's a little bit early to talk about pension, but pension is just around the corner also. Suddenly life will change, and I would like to be prepared for that, because I would like to move into something rather than just unplugging suddenly. Those are just few things on my mind. And then obviously my current situation, my role, responsibilities, that goes without saying, that is also on top of my mind, to do the best for the company and my employer. So yeah, those are on my mind.
I have some ideas how to keep you busy during your retirement years, so don't worry about it.
Great.
And today it's not going to be about your current role, your company. Today will be about you. And Today will be about everything that made you, you. What does becoming better mean for you?
Yeah, so becoming better is both. It's both personally. I mean, on a personal development, to be a better version of myself, either for, and I would say for me at least, especially towards the people that are around me, whether that's family, that's friends, that's people that trust in me or depend on me to be the best version I can be. I'm not perfect, and we will
You're
get
not?
to that. I have so many, I make a lot of mistakes. I've done many mistakes, but I think, well, I really want to improve.
Yeah.
There are things I can do, and there are things I cannot do in my age. But that's on a personal level. Then, obviously, when we are talking about improving things, it's also the effect that you can have on helping others to improve, or you know you might be a football player when you're young and you do the best you can to improve, but when you get older you become a coach, and then you hope others can improve because it's too late for you. You cannot run fast anymore, right? So so different phases, different kind of ways to improve things, whether on a personal level or on kind of giving what you have to others so they can improve. I don't know. It became too philosophical, I guess, but that's how I see it, at least.
Well, this is encouraged in this format. You are allowed to be as philosophical as you want. You're allowed to be as authentic and your true self. But to have a light beginning, just tell me, when was the last time you did something for the very first time?
When did I do something for a very...
How old are you, Farzin?
I'm 52 years.
Something you've done for the very first time.
For a very first time, I would say, well, so I started doing triathlon for one and a half years ago, right? So I'm talking more about bigger things that I have taken on. And I hate running. I hate swimming. I hate biking. So it's like, what am I doing? But
you obviously like torturing yourself.
exactly. Which I like the pain. I like having goals and then go for it, and it keeps me occupied, right? So and it's healthy for me. So that also goes without saying. But that is one thing. I started playing drums for 4 or 5 years ago, very late in life.
For the first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
So now I'm playing drums. I don't think many people know that either. I have a drum set, and I think the family is quite fed up with it, but it is there, and I do play. So, and then I don't have, and then you have all this small stuff in everyday that I have. I like just do things and take on things, smaller things that whether it's work related or privately, I just jump on it. Have no issue.
Farzin, from the outside, many people know you as this high achiever, high-level manager at IKEA, responsible for many, many people, responsible for a lot of budgets, vice president of the digital project office at IKEA. But for me, knowing your life story, your life it reads like a movie script. And the fact of the matter is no one knows about it. You've witnessed as early as 6 years old the Iranian Revolution. You've seen exile, you've seen lost, rebuilding, and hope. You fled Iran as a child with your brother, who was also less than 18. I think he was 16 years
17,
old,
yeah.
17 years old at the time, and you were 12 years old
Right.
when you left Iran without your parents. Grew up as a refugee in Denmark, got assigned to a foster family with a Christian foster family with 5 kids. You built a career that took you around the world. And today, there's so much that happened in between. We will get to that. So you're a person that I think I've never met anyone like you. And I didn't even know that about you. We just met at a much different in a much different context where it clicked anyway between us as 2 humans. But you're a person that has seen everything from refugee camps to boardrooms. And you strike me as someone like a masterclass of resilience. And I've heard you say, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That feels like a central theme of your life.
Yeah.
Let's start where everything began, Farzin. A childhood shaped by war, crisis, and lots of change. Take us to the time when you were 6 years old in Iran.
Yeah. So not many really know my story. I think it's important to analyze. So, and then I would like to start with explaining why at the age of 52, I suddenly decide to talk about this. I think it's a little bit important before jumping, if that's okay. Because the thing is, throughout my life, I felt I felt not sufficient. At the same time, comparing with other kids, comparing with others that were not refugees and all that. So I felt like I needed to prove myself. And I didn't want to have an edge of using my background as an excuse to not achieving those. So I haven't really mentioned what I've gone through to many people.
How many people do you think know about your story in total?
In total, the full, I mean, the background from childhood, I think even my wife today would listen and would like to know what the heck happened. So my brother, obviously, because we came to Denmark 2 years, so he knows it. And my best friend Anas, that is, I met when I was 13 years old, and so I think a handful of people, less than that, and especially when it comes to my children, that we will also touch upon, it's very few people also. So, but the reason I've chosen to discuss this here with you, basically, obviously, because I think you're a fantastic moderator that makes it easy to speak to you and the audience. And second of all, it's also, I'm 52 years, right? It is, I'm not going to get an edge just because of my background. I mean, I have achieved what I was hoping to achieve.
You're not afraid anymore.
I'm not afraid, and I do not want to get a job because of my background. I want to get the job because I can bring some quality or I can bring some value into what I'm doing. So so I think it's a fair time to share that. So
excellent.
So that was kind of the background. I think that makes sense. Then going back when I was 6 years old, I didn't really understand a lot about what was going around. I mean, I can remember that suddenly there was a revolution. We had a fantastic life. My mother, which has her surname is Sharabianlu. Sharabianlu is, there is an area in northwest Iran, very close to Tabriz, which is called Sharabian. And that was my granddad's area. So the story that I've been told is that he was a very, very rich guy, among top 3 during the Second World War, before and after. And then when Second World War ended, the Russians, they attacked northern part of Iran and killing all the rich people. So he flew on the back of a horse to Tehran, where he met my grandmother. And my mother was kind of the product, right? So as the only child from my grandmother, he had many kids. Anyhow, so we had a good life before the revolution, but then after the revolution, a lot of things were taken from rich people. It was nationalized. And I remember that then immediately the war started between Iran and Iraq.
Yeah.
And I remember the long nights where my dad and other men in the neighborhood, they were going around and, you know, making sure that security was okay on the streets. It was crazy suddenly, right? So that I recall he was going out in the nights, and then it's like my mom was sad and we were like, does he come back or not? And then when the war started, they started to pull young people older than us, my brother and I, to go to war. And then later on, as the war started to drag out, and then they started to go downwards with the ages. So, you know, smaller kids, they were also pulled into the war. And especially at some point, they were even using young kids, giving them a key, plastic key, and sending them so they kind of could clear the mines, right? So it was a key for the heaven if they died, and they cleared the mines. At that point, I remember my mom and dad decided that my brother should get out, and he was 15 years old. And at that point, I was... he was 14, I think. So I was 9 years old. So he tried to get to US, where my uncle was, and stay with him. He didn't succeed. So he, after 2 years of traveling around the world, he in France, Costa Rica, he ended up in Turkey. And there was an Iranian school there, and he was studying there for a year. While I was in Iran, and my mom and dad were traveling to Turkey all the time to visit him. And so while he was there, not getting to US, I was in Iran, and in between those, we were getting to camps, to school camps, so to say. And I recall when I went to one of those, that it was a military camp, and this was not information that was provided to the parents. It was sold like a normal camp, right? School camp. And there we learned to assemble Kalashnikov, throw hand grenades, and that we are talking at the age of 10, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So crawling below wires, you know, and shooting with Kalashnikov and things like that. And
how can you? I was also in the military. How can you even hold a Kalashnikov?
It was heavy. It's
very heavy, and it's like the moment you shoot, it backfires.
Oh yeah, it was just absolutely nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And 3 o'clock in the night, we were woke up. You know, come on, we are being attacked.
Yeah, okay.
And then we just ran out, totally dark, and then you could just see the bullets. You know, it kind of in the air. You could see how they were just.
Real bullets.
Yeah, real bullets.
Oh my
right?
God.
So basically, after this, when I have a picture which I need to send it to you when I get home, standing 4 kids with Kalashnikov, and so when I came home and I explained what was happened, my mom and dad said, I believe so, that they thought, okay, I also need to get out. So, and
I'm like, duh.
Yeah. I think that was pretty clear, right? So, and my dad already had he was in Turkey together with my brother, and then they asked me if I wanted to join my brother, and I hadn't seen him for 2 years. I didn't understand what the heck was going on. I said, "Yeah, I would like to visit him." So we took the bus. So 4 days it took to get from Tehran to Ankara in Turkey. I got fever, and that trip is one of the most horrible trips I have ever had in my entire life, to be honest. I got caught at the border. I was registered as a smuggler, and now we are talking about age of 12 years old, right? Remember, so.
Oh my God.
Anyhow, I'm going to make a very long story short, but when I got
you don't
to,
have to make it short.
No,
Just,
but anyhow, so
why did they believe that you're a smuggler?
Because I passed this security when between Iran and Turkey, and one of the guys on the bus, he came to me and he said, "Can you keep this in your hands? I've checked it with your mom and it's okay." And so I took it.
Yeah.
And then I was caught. And inside,
you had no idea.
I was a kid. I didn't know. And he said he had talked with my mom and everything was okay. So please keep this one. And inside it was filled with precious metals, gold and things like that. So I was taken, and then Fini. So thank God.
So you were instrumentalized.
Yeah. At the border, right? But they caught him, so thank God for that, and he paid the penalty fee and things like that. But the bus wanted to drive. It was just crazy at that border. So, but nevertheless, and then remember, I had fever, right? 40-degree fever the last 2 days on that bus ride. So we get to Ankara, and I see my brother there, and I recall my mom and dad asking me, "So now we're here. We would like to ask you a question." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Would you like to go to Denmark with your brother?"
Who asked you this question?
My mom and dad.
Okay.
Right. And I was not in doubt. I hadn't seen him for 2 years, and even though we always fought, and we were on top of each other, but I missed him. So I said, "Yeah, I would love to go to Denmark with my brother." I had no idea what that meant, right?
You have no idea what Denmark is.
Probably, if you ask me. Well, actually, the fun stuff was I was pretty much into geography.
Although knowing you with 10 years old, you were probably...
I could all, cities and things like that. But they said, okay. But I'm very thankful that my parents actually asked me, even though I had no clue, I didn't know anything, but they asked me, I said yes. And so after a month in Ankara, we went to Istanbul, and from there, my brother and we got up the stairs, and I totally can remember that. My mom and dad standing at the airport, and we go up the stairs. I had never seen my dad cry. That was the first time, and he went away, basically. I recall he went away, he came back, he had clearly cried, and then we went up the stairs, and I thought to myself, this is all gonna, we're not gonna, I will see them. This is just gonna, they're gonna come up now. They're gonna come up now. They're gonna come up. Right? And that didn't happen until we got into the Airflug airplane, the Russian airline, and they were not in the airplane, right? So that was when we got basically off the ground and landed in East Berlin, because back then, in order to get to a secure country, you needed to go through a unsecure country. Yes. So I was, at this point, this is 1985. I was 12, my brother was 17 years old. We got to the East Berlin. And I recall that we had to go to the Bahnhof, and from Bahnhof, we needed to take a train to Denmark. And we got to the Bahnhof in the middle of the night. and there was multiple people trying to recruit us.
Recruit you?
Yeah. So
For what?
to stay in East Berlin. So a lot of
Did they also give you plastic keys?
no, that would have been something. But it was kind of weird because some some people from Afghanistan that were living there, they were trying to, I think, actively recruiting for the Russian government.
Okay.
In East Berlin to stay there, and they were telling us how fantastic it is. I didn't understand, anything. My brother was talking to them and explaining what they were saying. But thank God my brother did not say yes to that. So we, then I recall one of the things that haunts me still, and when I close my eyes sometimes, is I had a T-shirt, and I had my jacket was very thin and it was quite cold, right? And I was so tired, so I fell asleep at Bahnhof. When I woke up, my brother was not there. I was totally alone. And so I started yelling. My brother's name is Farzin. My name is Farzin. I yelled and yelled. And yeah, there was no one around me. My brother was out to buy the tickets for the train. Eventually he came, but it was freaking scary, I can tell you that. But when he came, I breathed. He hugged me and he said, "It's okay." And we got on the train. It was amazing. I got the best sausage in my entire life at the train. It was a very, very big sausage we got. We bought because we hadn't eaten for quite a long time. We slept. And then we came in with the train to Copenhagen, and we passed Tivoli. I remember Tivoli in Copenhagen. Those that know it, there was a lot of light. And I was just, wow, it looks amazing. And what's going to happen now? So we got out of the train, and there was a lot of police at the train station. So this was obviously a way people kind of flew, right? And then we were picked up by the police, and we were taken to one of the largest police stations in Copenhagen, a little bit outside Copenhagen, called Konglerne, I think that's the name. And there we were sitting in the waiting room with a lot of light, and we were supposed to be interviewed, right? And I was so nervous. And the thing is, I get called in for an interview with the two polices, and the room was a very small room, and it's exactly how you picture a interrogation room with a spotlight, and it was like I was 12 years old, so it was very unusual for kids to be refugees back then. We were some of the first ones coming in, so they didn't have any experience with that. So I still can remember how my teeth they were just clapping. So I was shaking, right? So they couldn't get a word out of me because I was so nervous. So eventually they offered me some hot cup of chocolate and things like that, and they wanted to know where our passport is, why we have come, and things like that. So, and that was so after we went through those kind of interviews, we stayed there for a couple of days, but then we were moved to a old hotel that was made to a refugee camp in near Copenhagen called in Valby. And there we were for a little bit more than a month, I believe. We were there. So we were refugees for approximately 9 months, 8 to 9 months before we got
living in this hotel.
Yeah. So, and that was, it was a very weird camp, a lot of strange people, a lot of things, but The
What
thing
kind
was,
of people did you have around you?
yeah, so it was a combination of some Iranians that had, but no kids. So we were the youngest people there. But we had some Iranian people. There were some people from Iraq that equally had kind of
Affected by the
affected by the war. And then we had Palestinians and Arabic people. And the thing was back then that Iranians and Iraqis, they hated they didn't like the government, and that was the reason they got away. The Palestinians, they were highly dependent on the money they were receiving from the regimes that the Iranians and Iraqis they didn't like. So there was constant conflict between Iranian and Iraqi.
They were loyal because of the support.
Yeah, so the Palestinians were getting money from the Iranian government, and I guess also from Iraqi government, while the Iranians, they didn't like the Iranian government. That was the reason they were there, and the same for Iraq. So there was constant conflict. So it was a kind of it wasn't uncommon that there was, fights and, beat-ups of different. And so when we came to that camp, there were more Iranian people. But at some point of time, as they got answers and they got out, the number went down. And it became dangerous for my brother and me to be there. Because so then we will get beaten up. But the people that were working there, they were so nice. And because my brother could speak English and he was translating all the time for all the other people, and I guess they felt I was cute because I was very small. So they moved us to another camp where there were more Iranian people, so we don't get beaten up. The next camp it's quite fun. Now it's fun, obviously, but it was an island outside Copenhagen called Middelgrund. Middelgrundsfortet, that is an artificial island that was built, and especially during Second World War, you couldn't see it because there was a lot of green on top of it. You could basically walk from one end to another in 5 minutes. So there we were, living for 3 months in that island, and there was not much to do. We could, with a boat, go to the mainland and come back in the evening, but the rest of the time, I was playing table tennis. Yeah. So it was in the basement, and I think I played table tennis like 8 hours a day, something like that, right? So that was my start of my journey with table tennis. And we're going to come back because that shaped my early years, in teenage years. So I played a lot of table tennis, and obviously even table tennis was a fight between, Iranians and, Palestinians, Iraqi. It was all the time cultural, differences. So, and I think one guy from Lebanon, he was quite skilled. So he was winning all the time. But before we left, I managed as a youngster to win, and it was a tremendous win for the Iranian kind of crowd, right? So,
okay, they were cheering for Iranian.
It's just crazy, absolutely nuts. But anyhow, so that
sounds a little bit like these Hollywood prison films.
Basically, you have everybody standing there and cheering for different groups, right?
Yeah.
But remember, I was 12. There was no one at my age whatsoever at that point. Then the number of Iranians also went down there, and we were moved to another camp after that. And so it was a children hospital in the past. They had made into a refugee camp, and there we were for 4 or 5 months until we got the kind of permission to stay.
Yeah.
Though it was some crazy months, to be honest. It was mostly what I remember. It was a lot of fights between different people, people doing different weird stuff, us figuring out what does it mean to stay there, and try to navigate through the culture differences.
What were they doing? What was weird?
Well, I mean, people were doing anything they could to stay, right?
Okay.
So and to be honest, I was too small to really figure out what was the reasoning for doing what the people were doing, but they were doing a lot of things to stay. Some, I think, became transvestite, because then they couldn't be thrown back. Quite. But if you ask me, maybe they were maybe they were. I don't know. But for instance, ourselves, my brother and I, we were taken into a Baptistic church by Mr. Douglas that came in and recruited in order to improve our chances to stay. Basically, not because of religion as such. So people were desperate. Right, and they wanted to stay, and whatever it took to stay. That's basically what it is.
I mean, just to give context to that whole thing, because Farzin, it's incredible because now we meet after several years of knowing each other in Berlin, where you landed in the Hauptbahnhof years and years and years and years ago as a small child with 12. I came to Germany around 8 years ago, but I'm from Ankara, where you traveled to on this bus. And I worked at the United High Commissioner for Refugees processing Iranian applications in this office where you've probably also been to. And after a while doing that, I was summarizing I was interviewing the refugees, asylum seekers, and then they get recognized as a refugee based on the 5 Geneva Convention grounds. That those are like persecution based on ethnicity, race, sexual background, which also gives context to what you're saying. Like some people were doing whatever they can.
Yeah.
And reading these stories, I just truly felt what you mean, because I would meet these people. And some of the stories you read from Iran, like this was much later, right? Obviously. I would go home and I would just feel so sick to my stomach. Stories like, I was 6 years old. My neighbor was sexually harassing me, blah, blah, blah. And then you meet the person and then you truly believe it's authentic in many cases, but sometimes there's also people that have been advised to act in a certain way because it fits the 5 grounds, they just want a better life, right? So I just want to have mentioned that, because now I feel I would have never thought I would meet someone many, many, many years later doing something completely different, and then there would be so many touch points where we were in the same places.
It's amazing. It's maybe there is no coincidence in life. I don't know, but here we are, so many years after. So where was I? So
you were mentioning the last 4 or 5 months in this refugee camp before you got assigned to
correct. So that was 11 of August 1985, where we got the 11 of August 1986, or a little bit before that. So it was month of August, and then back
2 months after I was born.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. So, and we got a permission to stay, and then they had my brother and I, we couldn't live together because he was underage. He was 17 years old, so he got a room in a place a little bit outside Copenhagen, where it was a lady that owned the house, very nice old lady that had been in Iran, and she gave a room to my brother. And I got a Danish family, foster family, with 5 own kids, 5 boys, and in the center of Copenhagen, very Christian. So, and they were Lutheran Christian, so not as Mr. Douglas with.
And you were brought up as Muslim?
As Muslim, okay. Shia Muslim.
Shia Muslim. So,
but then again, my family was never really religious.
Yeah,
but you were born in that. So anyhow, so we every weekend we were getting together, my brother and I. So I was taking the trip to him, and we saw a lot of movies and things like that. We saw everything that was there. There was not much to do. Otherwise, I was playing table tennis. Right, that was what I did during while we were refugees. So I continued to do that, and the reason I remember 11th of August 1986 because that day I started to go to a club in Copenhagen, a table tennis club, and there was my best friend today, Anders, that also came 11th of August 1986. So we got to know each other. He didn't talk much. I did a lot of talking, even though we probably didn't understand each other, but we played table tennis in the same team, and since then we know each other, and still today. And table tennis really saved me, I would say, because I went to training after school, and I was there until I went to bed, and I played table tennis, and I became one of the best table tennis players in Denmark when I was young. And I think, to be honest, the sport saved me from, doing the wrong things, because you could going stealing things or things like that. Not that I didn't do that, but it could have continued, and it could have taken me the wrong way. Then. Yeah, and so I stayed with my foster family for until I was 18 years old, until I had to go to university. And what is quite significant also during the years I was staying with my foster family was that I choose to go to schools that they were private, not public, because the according to the public kind of guideline, I had to go to schools where a high percentage of the students, they were foreigners. I chose myself and forced it, and I don't know how, but it felt like the right thing to do, and went to these private schools and paid it from my weekly kind of salary I got from the municipality, and there I got a lot of support, and there was resources because I was a kind of a troubled kid. I didn't know what to do, how to do things, but there was resources, and I'm very thankful, especially to my kind of St. Joseph school. The teacher there, she was fantastic. And after that, I got to college, which was also a private one, and they also put a lot of resources. And beside all the things I needed to learn, I also needed to learn multiple new languages, German, Spanish, because that's part of the Danish educational system, that you need to learn foreign languages. And remember, when I came to Denmark, I could only talk Persian, but I need to learn English also. So I was confused, it's fair to say. But got through those, and it was absolutely hard. In the early years, I couldn't communicate with the kids. And you know how kids are. They make fun of you because you cannot communicate. You get angry, you cannot communicate. So the only thing you can do is physically show that. But by getting into fights and things like that. And this truly shows how important it is, the power of language and communication, because once you can do that and you can express yourself, then there is no need for physically getting involved. But I didn't know anything better, so that was how it came across. So during those years, I saw my parents, I guess when I was after 12 years, you probably don't remember it, but back then, if you needed to make a phone call, first of all, it cost like €2 per minute to just make a call, right? And then you need to go to the postal office, make a booking, and then they say, what is the number? You gave the number, and then they put it in, and then maybe they
I
got
definitely don't know that.
no.
Yeah.
So there was no mobile phones, and it was really hard to get in contact. So we could talk from time to time on phone. But yeah, so when I was 16, so 4 years after I came to Denmark, they flew to Denmark, my parents, and we saw each other for the first time.
14.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was 16, so that was 4 years after I ran away from Iran.
Yeah.
We saw each other in Denmark. That was the first time. My parents came to Denmark a couple of times more, and we saw each other. So that was quite a. And one of the questions that people typically ask me is, why didn't your parents come along, right? Why didn't come with you? I must say, and this is something that we probably could spend hours discussing, but it's about integration. It's about how to make kids that are from a different culture successful. Because my parents saw something that I truly understood when I got older, and we discussed. They felt they didn't want to put us into a situation where we needed to choose between cultures. Typically, if your parents come with you, you have that culture with you, and right there where you are living. Then you go outside the door and interact with other kids and cultures, and you get caught between cultures. What is right? What is wrong? And it sounds maybe a little bit of a cliche, but it is a fact. You get caught. You don't know what is right and wrong, and you don't know how to act, and it becomes an issue. And I truly understand kids that are coming from, families with different culture, and then they need to operate and live in another culture. It's difficult. It's absolutely a nightmare. Thanks to my parents, we didn't have that. We embraced the Danish culture, my brother and I. That was the only thing that was that we could do, because our parents were not there. That didn't mean that we didn't have connection to them, but it made it much more simpler for us to integrate with the Danish culture. And we did. And later on, when we got to the university, and because Persian culture, right? Either you're a doctor or an engineer. So we, both my brother and I, we went to technical university and become engineers. And it was tough. I was burning out. I mean, I remember fourth year of university, I was about to drop out. It was tough. During those years where you really need some guiding from your parents or people that are close to you, I needed to figure out everything myself. I'm going to make a very stupid example, but as a youngster, when you go through puberty, your hormonal changes makes your smell different, right? You need to go more often to take showers. You need to change your clothes and things like that, which is very simple, and we take it for granted, but no one could tell me about it. There was no one there to say, you know what, now you're a young man, you will smell more, make sure to go to... So things like that I need to find hard way. It's just an example.
How did you find out?
Well, because I could see that people were moving away, and I started to smell. I said, this is not right. Okay, I need to go. So it would have been so much easier if I remember it, because I was so embarrassed. Yeah. I was so embarrassed because no one was there to tell me how things are and what's happening with my body, what's happening with me as a young man.
Farzin, we've just covered so much ground, starting from you being 6 years old until now we're talking about the teenage years. But I want to ask a question. Like, you mentioned the stations that you've been in, conflicts that you've seen, groups of people from like Iran, Iraq, and like groups that had conflict with other groups. I want to understand how little Farzin felt in those moments. Like, did you feel desperate often? Did you feel, did you question the decision of your parents? Did you hate someone? Did you blame someone? How did you feel? Can you walk me through the psychology of this child?
No, absolutely. No, it's a very good question, because my parents always asked us, even later on, do you guys hate us for the decision that we made? And it's really the truth. At no point of time I've thought to myself that my parents made the wrong decision, or why did they? So, not at all. I have not been in doubt. That was the right decision. What I am truly annoyed is the why it happened to us. I mean, why? I mean, they did the revolution, and suddenly we had to get away from a good life, right? Um, that is very hard for me to still today. I juggle with that.
Why you?
Yeah, why me, and why your country is supposed to be your Central
Safe
Europe
haven.
safe heaven. Yeah. And I feel like it hasn't been. We are not supposed. We shouldn't send our kids to war. I mean, I hate wars. So today, I hate wars. I hate military. I hate anything to do with killing our youngsters, because some other people make a decision that should be that is the right thing.
Yeah.
How do they dare to do that? So that I have very quite tremendous difficulty with. When I was younger, I think I felt less. When we came to Denmark, I felt less than the others, and that truly affected me even after I came out of university, and some years into my professional career. I felt, my wife would say that still haunts me, because I always want to do, perform. And I, she might be right, but that's not something I know I'm consciously, at least I'm not so conscious about it today, because I feel like that's just in my DNA now. But probably that is affected by the fact that I felt less valuable than other kids. I especially remember one discussion I had with my brother. We were standing at a train station when we just recently had got our permission to stay, and I was going to school, and he was going to a college, and then everybody was going for trips during summertime, right? To Greece or Italy or Spain, and we couldn't, obviously. And I was really annoyed, and I was like, how is that fair? Or, all that kind of stuff. And my brother said, listen, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to Danish kids. You should compare yourself with the kids in Iran, which made sense. But at the same time, I was like, but why? Am I less worth? So, and that has shaped quite a lot of my early years. So I constantly needed to do more, or go a step further to prove, um, which was very hard. And um, so knowing your worth, that you are worthwhile, really.
Yeah.
That
Knowing that you're enough.
Yeah, that's, I think, if to point at one thing that has affected me and my mentality and where it comes from, is from that early stage. Yeah, it is hard to talk about it, because it kind of, that's the naked me, right? It's hard to analyze yourself sometimes. But I at the moment I'm going through that because I also got a present from my wife this summer to attend a writing course because she wants me to write my memoirs. And so I'm going through a lot of these thinkings at this time of, I mean, at the age of 52, to revisit what happened to me, why it happened the way it happened, and things like that. And yeah, it's a little bit, it kind of opens up my eyes for why did I act in the ways that I did back in time.
Where's your brother now?
My brother is having his own company, a consultancy company he had, and now he has invented a machine called Automatic, which electronically measures your oxygen level in your blood, and then it gives you more oxygen if you need it. And very successful guy. So absolutely doing fantastically. He lives in Denmark.
You're in close contact.
Well, we see each other, but we, I would say close, not as close as we should be, because so much happened during the days we were in refugee camps, and we had thoughts and we you know, with discussions, and that
you two fought with each other.
So that haunts us even today, I would say. So, but he has two fantastic kids. And I have a kid, but not with me. But so for the sake of everyone, we get together and we see each other. Deep down, we love each other, no doubt about it. But those years is still haunting us.
He's the only eyewitness you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the other way around also. And him and I, we really talked about those years when Dad was sick at a later stage, and we were talking about that 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, when him and I, we were on our way to Iran to visit my dad at the airport. And when we arrived at Dad, when we were sleeping in the same room, we started talking about those days. Remember, I was too young to know what was going on mentally with him. I didn't know that.
He was going through puberty and all these things.
He has gone through hell. Absolutely hell.
Do you think it was harder for him?
In some sense, yeah. I think it was harder.
Because he had to also protect you as the older brother, maybe?
That, and the fact that he came to Denmark 17 years old. He was more shaped in another culture. He needed to learn the language later. He needed to get friends at a later stage. Everything was 5 years later for him.
Settled, yeah.
So definitely he has gone through through hell. There's no doubt. And I really got my eyes open for his situation during that trip. I have a tremendous respect for him. But we cannot get along always. But it is what it is. Yeah, so there is so much to unpack there, but he also sees me as the only eyewitness to his life. And I think he doesn't share anything either. He doesn't share anything either. I doubt whether his kids, so I cannot talk on his behalf, and I will not do that because that's something he needs to share by himself. But yeah, so we had quite a challenging life after the refugee camps to learn the language and get established and all that. But later on, when we went to university, we moved together. So we were for a couple of years we were staying at the university, you know, these college apartments that you can get. So we were staying together, but that was a bad idea. Really bad idea.
Because you were separated for so long.
We were separated, and still those years in the camp and all that stuff was haunting us. And our mentality had been shaped during those survival. And there was too little room for us to stay together up there. So so we got through university. He got a wife, a lovely wife that he still has today. Got 2 kids. And I I get my first job at a big construction company called Skanska. And the first salary I received, 23,500 crowns, right? So approximately divided by 7.5, you have it in euro. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I had never ever seen that much money. It was so I still remember it because I spent all the money that month, right? On going out with friends and things like that. And I couldn't believe I was worth it. That was the moment I said, are they willing to pay me 23,500 crown? It was just unbelievable. But it was even to get to that point. Remember, 2 years before that, I went to the university have a possibility you can go and work, while you're studying. And I couldn't get a job like other kids could, but I got a construction yard job 2.5 hours away from Copenhagen, right?
Yeah.
I took it because no one else was taking it, right? So remember, as a youngster, I was in the morning, I took a train and public transportation 2.5 hours out to be at the construction yard 8. And then after working until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and 2.5 hours of transportation back.
Every day.
Every day for 6 months. No one was doing that. I did that. And I recall the Skanska, the guy, the department manager, he knew the department manager at that company that I was doing this work for. And they were out playing golf. And then they were actually fighting about getting me because they told me this story afterwards, because they said, if somebody is willing to travel 5 hours per day to work 8 hours, and they both wanted me. So I actually got a contract before I was finished with the university, 1 week, 2 weeks before I finalized the university. So I had already a job. Which was absolutely mind-blowing for me, right? And that did tremendous, quite a lot for my, building my ego. That, okay, I am worthwhile something. And then I got the salary. And then during those the last years, I had also a girlfriend that I wanted to half Spanish, half Danish, and wanted to marry. My dad said, "No way, you're not going to go and marry. You can do it as soon as you finish the university." So as soon as I finished the university, I got married, right? And that didn't last. It had lasted half a year. We were just youngsters.
Yeah.
And that happened in 1999. Right? I'm mentioning that because that meant a lot for my career, exactly there. Because when I divorced first time, 1999, I had worked at that construction company for less than a year. So but I was continuing to go to another school to learn IT.
Okay.
Right? So a joint venture started at that point between the 5 major construction companies, AMEC, Bovis Lendlease, Skanska, Hochtief, the German Hochtief company, to create a marketplace, online marketplace for construction. And back then, everybody thought with e-commerce, we can make money. Yeah. Everybody is going to earn a lot of money. And then Denmark was asked to deliver. I was working at Skanska, so they asked, do you have somebody that can join this joint venture? And the department manager there, he said, well, we have one guy, young guy, that is both engineer and is reading to become get his bachelor in IT.
And this is before the .com bubble,
yeah. Exactly. It was just taking off. Yeah. And then he asked me, do you want to go to this venture? Yeah, why not? I just got divorced. I was, I'm on. So Boston, That was the first place. They were kind of trying to figure out what to do. I was the youngest guy, and everybody was C-levels and things like that. So I was just pretty much just taking notes, things like that, right? And then from Boston, we went to Frankfurt, where Hochtief and Skanska stuck together, while the other ones, they went away. And we were working from Frankfurt office for a while. And back then, e-commerce, which is absolutely nuts for the people listening, it was a telephone call you made to it was a modem, 33,600, and we needed to call to the marketplace every time. So it was absolutely nuts to have a marketplace.
Data transmission was different.
Yeah, so that was what it was. And then after that, we were there half a year. Went to Amsterdam. I was living there for nearly 4 years. IKEA Global, that was the company, the venture call. And we delivered e-commerce services to Skanska and Hochtief, basically, e-sourcing, procure to pay, those type of stuff. And I got to learn a lot about SAP solutions. I learned a lot about process engineering.
Yeah.
And my career, that's what I learned during those years. That's the foundation of why I'm where I am today, I would say. My understanding, my learning just took off big time. And that was the career part. But at that point, I had a lot of success, but then came .com bubble that burst, right? And we had spent tremendous amount of money. So we had to shut down, and I came back to Denmark, starting my own consultancy company because I had no job. So I became an SAP consultant, getting companies to go live. Then on a major job for Postal Denmark, SAP was also there, and they were quite impressed with what I could do. So they gave me a managerial role for the supply chain team in SAP Denmark. So I joined there. And exactly at that point, that's around 2004, 2005, I got a chance to go back to Iran to visit my parents for a first time after 18 years.
Oh my God.
And the reason for that was I got a plastic card that said, I'm not wanted for military anymore. The war was also passed, so I could go without, getting into trouble. So I went back, and I recall there were a lot of people at the airport. I barely knew some of them. It had been so many years, family and that were at the airport. I was there a couple of weeks, and it was just fantastic to be there. But I was not allowed to get out of the apartment. So my parents were so much afraid that I go out, do something stupid. My parents always saw me as this stupid kid. My brother was very much responsible. I was the one that always did everything wrong, basically, and couldn't be in a box. I needed to challenge authorities. I do it even today, I would say. So they didn't.
As Jim Carrey says, you can't contain the container.
Maybe that's the thing. I have a thing with the authorities. But anyhow, so I was there, and a couple of years later, when my mom got cancer, I went back, and my mom died. During that time, also I was out for SAP Denmark in Colombia to do a job for ITB Colombia. It's a telecommunication company in Colombia. And I met the guy that I was working with. I met his daughter, which I fell in love. And it seemed to be something that happens quite a lot for European consultants. Go to South America, fall in love. So I married her, and that kind of shaped also quite some years, because then I changed my job to not travel that much. She came to at that point I was living in Sweden. So she came in Sweden, and
You took her with you.
Yeah, so she basically moved to Sweden.
Okay.
And yeah, it didn't go a long time before we got our first kid, Simon, in 2006.
Mhm.
And then we were together for 5 years, basically married.
Did you have a good marriage?
In the beginning, yes.
Yeah.
But later on, she had hard time to settle and get a job and all that. And even though I tried to support it, it was just
Hard to adapt.
hard to adapt. And this is it's hard to say it, but at that point, I felt probably I could walk on water. I felt like nothing can touch me. Of course, I can fix that also. I was probably from not being worth anything.
More
Now
confident years.
I was quite confident. Now I was somebody.
How old were you then?
2000, I was just around 30 years old.
Yeah.
So I was, I felt like there's nothing I cannot fix.
Yeah.
But
because your whole life was fixing things.
Yeah, it was fixing
Prevailing.
things. And I had fixed it from not having anything to, now I was getting high salary. I was wanted. Everyone was calling and wanting me to come, and whether it was Bank of Ireland or it was Vodafone or it was, they just wanted to have me come and fix things.
Yeah.
So it had got to my head, right? And that also reflected on my relationship, because I thought, okay, I knew that it's not going to be easy for her to adapt. I said, I'm going to fix that also. But I couldn't. And she never settled down. And eventually we got into problems. And we...
Would you say you didn't listen to her problems, or you didn't... Maybe you...
Yeah, no,
You always thought you could fix, but maybe she needed something else.
It's hard to say, right? I truly believe even post our marriage, I have really gone through all that. And so obviously I cannot take away my own responsibility in that. There's no doubt. I mean, surely anyone that says I couldn't do things differently, they're lying, because there's always another way. But I couldn't see it. I didn't feel the motivation there was for her to also try to get her a job. She got in conflicts, things like that. But I wished she wanted it more also.
Yeah.
So, in a marriage, it's always both ways, right? So, but unfortunately, we got into a very, very uncomfortable divorce. And
what happened?
So this is basically I was at Accenture at this point. I was before 2010, somewhere 2008, 2010, where we had problems. We were not connected. 2 very difficult births. So the first one with Simon, she couldn't move that much. We got him, fantastic kid. Then she got pregnant again 3 years later. And this time was a girl. And Sophie, yes. And at this point, it was also a difficult pregnancy. She couldn't. She was lying in bed. She couldn't move that much. And I was working a lot, right? I had to support the entire family. That was basically on my salary. So in week 41, so already in week 40, I get a call, and she said she's at the doctor, and she didn't feel that Sophie was moving. She gets to the doctor, but she is moving. But she felt something was just strange. But the doctor said, no, everything is okay. The heartbeat is okay, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Week later, I remember still the time when it happened, because I was sitting in a meeting with a union for where it's a procurement union. I was talking to them about different work we could do together. We were 3 people sitting and having a negotiation, and my phone calls. And I had told them that the only time I will take it if it's my wife calls, because that would be important.
Yeah.
She will probably have labor or something. So I take it, and I've thought, okay, this is it. Sophie is coming. And she was yelling in the phone and crying. She's dead. That's the only thing I heard. She's dead. And I was like, what? What? How did that happen? And she said, Sophie, she's dead. I remember, so I was in Copenhagen, 45 kilometers away to the hospital in a Volvo V70 station car. And I don't know why, it doesn't make sense today, but I felt I needed to be there as quickly as possible. So I left, I was shaking. I left the room immediately in suit. I just jumped into the Volvo and I drove more than 200 kilometers per hour across just to get to the hospital. I could have killed myself. My brain was not functioning. I was just repeatedly just hearing, she's saying,
She's dead.
she's dead. I get to the hospital. Her mom was also there, and she was obviously devastated. The doctor was there. I was like, yeah, she's dead. And then I recall that my brother and his family, they came to the hospital also a little bit later. And I never forget my brother's, the words that came out of his mouth. He said, he came in, he hugged me, and then afterwards my ex-wife. And then he said, why? When will this stop? And that was heartbreaking, because when will this stop? There was so much in that to unpack. And the main question is, when will this stop? It was so deep because, all the stuff we had been going through that only him and I, we know about, and then get it to that point. Yeah. So this was, this was quite hard. And there is so much to really talk about this, because I understood I cannot fix everything. I cannot, thanks. I'm not bulletproof. And I really felt like helpless, absolutely helpless. For a first time after many, many years, it was back to being helpless, being no one, being, just trying to, so when that happened, my wife and I, ex-wife and I, this was really the last kind of, bullet, because we had issues. Sophie died. We couldn't even agree how to go through the funeral. She wanted to have a funeral, people should be there with music, things like that. And I just wanted to get out. I just wanted to go.
You didn't want a funeral.
I didn't want to have a funeral. I just wanted to save myself, basically, right? But I also knew I needed to be there for her. So we had a funeral. And this is one of the things I remember today. It's really, I hate myself, but this was what could come out of my mouth at that point of time, because somebody needed to make a speech. She couldn't, so I had to make a speech at the funeral with all the people there, a lot of people.
How many people?
100 people, I guess. And the only thing that I really felt like saying is, why are you here? That was what I said.
You said,
Yeah.
why are you here?
Why are you here? Which is an incredibly unpolite thing to say. But I didn't want a funeral. I didn't want to be there. I just needed to get away.
That's it.
So no, I did say some stuff more, but the only thing that stuck with me is like, I think I was very unpolite to people. And I said, I don't understand why you guys are here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I remember. And I remember after that, we obviously, everybody came to our home. My son, Simon, at that point, he was 3 years. He didn't understand what was going on, but he was helping out with serving things and being there. But that was really the end of the marriage, really, because she blamed me for killing our daughter by working too much, which was nonsense. We went to,
Couples
therapy, and she was putting all the blame on me that she died because of me and blah, blah, blah. And obviously that's not true, but she had a lot of pain.
She probably couldn't blame anyone else.
No, which is understandable. I mean, so that's not a problem. But yeah, so that was, and it didn't go a long time before we decided to, or she actually decided to divorce, which I was totally okay with it. But the problem was we had a kid, and she wanted to have full custody, and I didn't want to give her the full custody. I loved my kid. So a very, very, horrible divorce was started at that point, about money, about getting full custody. But in essence,
she turned against you.
Totally. And I really do not want to talk about the divorce because it's, it came from pain of losing a kid, and then it ends up being other stuff. And it's the evolution of that pain becomes so much more pain, right? Yeah. So she wanted to go back to Colombia, obviously. And here we had a kid, and she started multiple sessions in the court to get full custody, so then she could just move anywhere, right? Yeah. I do not have a positive thing to say about social workers and the process of what men need to go through when you are in a divorce situation with a kid. I cannot say anything positive about that. But eventually, she got more days with him than me, but she kept on fighting. And eventually, she was about to lose the custody.
Because you had shared custody.
We had a shared custody, right? And in the meantime, she had got boyfriend, and I have got my wife today that I've been together with nearly 15 years. Maria, I met her, and she has two fantastic kids, and everything was just great. And that annoyed her. At the same time, she wanted to go to Colombia. So, and all the fights in the court made it harder to have mutual custody over Simon, and she was about to lose it, and
it prolonged the process.
Yeah. So, and the court was all the time saying, "How come you're coming back so quickly?" So, eventually, she basically, even though that Simon didn't have a Danish passport, she went to Stockholm, and in the Colombian embassy, she got a Colombian passport for him without my approval. I didn't even know. And she
lied to you.
Yeah. And she kind of smuggled him out, and they went to Colombia. She basically abducted Simon to Colombia, And how
He was 9 years old, or
he was 9 years
Yeah.
old. And how I remember it is because we were supposed to go on a ski vacation, Simon and I, Maria and her 2 kids. Everything was settled. So I call on the phone to my ex-wife, and I hear a Spanish, when it goes online that you cannot reach the phone, and it's in Spanish. And then I said, okay, either she is in Spain, but the cold sweat that runs behind your back when you realize something is not right here. That's exactly what I remember. It just cold sweat down my back, and I was like, okay, he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone. And I remember that I called the social workers, and they called, the embassy and all that, and we realized, yes, he's abducted.
Second
And
moment where you're yelling brother's name
yeah,
at the train station.
so it's a never-ending story, basically, right? A tragedy after tragedy, and
How did you feel?
I felt, okay, calm down. I'm gonna fix this. We got to go. So already at the ski vacation, we sat down, we got a lawyer, we lawyered up. I get in contact with the embassy and all that kind of stuff, and started reading how to get abducted kids back. I got in contact with a company that with ex-militaries that get kids back that are abducted. A Norwegian guy called Martin.
I don't know what the movie is called. 96 Hours in German, I think. Taken, like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
guy who just is trying to find his daughter.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I got to do everything I can. So the thing is, longer time the kid is abducted, your chances just reduces. So the first time, it's quite important to get. There are conventions, and I'm not going to burden you with that. But the thing is, it was quite important to act fast, and we did everything. So we got the lawyer, another lawyer in Colombia, and we started, and we got into the court December 16th, I remember. And this was in 2008 or 2009, right? Sorry, a little bit later, 2011 or 2012, I think. And then we get to, on the 19th, the court will close in Bogota. So we have on the 16th. And we get in there. So long story short is that it was some long days in the court with a translator that was translating with my lawyer there. And Maria, she was not allowed to come into the court. So she was sitting on a chair outside. And we were talking about from 9 o'clock to 8, 9 o'clock in the night, right? The first day. Totally exhausted. And she was saying that I had threatened to kill her and things, crazy stuff, right? And there I was with a report from the social workers in Sweden and the court report that I have the full custody and all that kind of stuff. And we won. We won in Colombia, which was unheard of, right? The judge said, Simon needs to go back. After 3 days in the court, we were so tired, so we felt this is just amazing. We were full of energy, and we went to an island and relaxed and all that kind of stuff. And we went back and said, "Okay, great." And of course, they went to and even her parents met with me to make me let him stay. And then the father of my ex-wife said he was just smiling. And I said, okay, something is not right, right? So when we came back, the audio file from the court was corrupt.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they don't take notes. So it is you're speaking into something like this. So the court, if the audio file, it was like 5-10 minutes of that. The audio was not, it was corrupt. Exactly where she kind of really talks, not in a good way, and that was.
They destroyed the files.
So here's the thing: that file got corrupted, and they say, that court, that session doesn't count anymore. So it needs to go for a higher instance, right? And I said, I'm going to fix this audio file. So I got the audio file, and online I found a Canadian company that during the Nixon, the Watergate, they on their kind of webpage, they said they were the company that did the sound files, and I said, okay, I'm going to send the sound files there and to fix it. They couldn't fix it either. So this went to the higher instance, and the higher instance, basically, they had bought. I was not allowed to come to that court, but she got the permission to come to that court. And they decided Simon should stay because already at that point, the process had taken many months. And it was devastating, absolutely devastating. And at that point, I felt like it was hard. I cannot explain how hard. And then I said, okay, I need my kid back. He needs to be where he belongs, really. And I started talking to this Norwegian company that was working with some French Legion soldiers that you could buy. It's just absolutely nuts when I'm talking about it right here. So in order for them to mobilize, I needed to pay them quite significant.
Are these like military contractors for?
Yeah. So they have been in French legionary, and then they have connection with them. Yeah, you can search Google. So
okay.
Unfortunately, today it's quite common that when people from different companies, they marry, these situations popped up more and more, abductions and things like that. So there are companies that help.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are also frauds, right? So they just take the money and nothing happens. But anyhow, I got in contact with this guy. He had a Norwegian police guy that had connections into Colombia, and they had these soldiers and things like that. But I needed to transfer, I give them some money to get started, quite some sum. So I couldn't transfer it electronically. So I took the dollars in my car and I drove all the way to Oslo into a Scandic hotel. And there he was. And in a bag, like you see on movies, just absolutely nuts. And he got the money, and I get back in my car, drove all the way back from Oslo. And they sent a guy to Colombia to take some pictures and things like that.
Like a detective's type of thing.
And remember, all this is happening. So my career at this point was on the highest. I was on the way to become a partner, in consulting in major companies. And I was the last work that I was selling Microsoft to selling Nokia to Microsoft, and it was a big merger and acquisition. So I was quite a lot in Helsinki. So while I was doing all that, working through the nights to get the contracts right and things like that, at the same time I needed to deal with this, with the divorce and going to the court and all that kind of stuff. And so it didn't end up well, obviously. So later on, the abduction, I didn't become a partner because, I didn't have the bandwidth. There was so much going on. So when I stepped out of all that stuff and started Cool Minds, which is a science center for children in Malmö, we were doing all that and we were creating these Cool Minds. And on the opening day, basically, or sometime after the opening day, that was where she abducted him. So I needed to deal with this company that we are putting together for kids, and then at the same time deal with going to Colombia, fighting this in the court, and then talking to these Norwegian guys and figuring out. And the thing was, I remember sitting one night together with my two best friends, Maria, and just saying, okay, should we move ahead with this abduction the other way around, from Colombia? This is the crazy thing, because these soldiers needed to go there and they needed to have me with them, because if they are supposed to take a kid back, if I'm not with them, then it would be abduction, and they can, if they are caught, they can go many, many years to jail. So if I go with them, it's a milder.
But does anyone at work know about this?
No.
You're like living a second life.
This is
running like
Yeah.
like running all these things and just going to Oslo and just paying some random guy a bag of dollars, and like,
no one knows about this. And this is even during the.
not even your friends.
So my two closest friends knew about it, but no one else knew about it. And even while I was talking with these soldiers and, going to Colombia, that was while I was the first years in IKEA. So when I was at the company, dealing with my role there.
You started at IKEA 2017 or so.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. So this was still going on. And so, and I remember we were just, should we move ahead and do this? And the thing is, I needed to go with these soldiers to Colombia. So I started training hard, right? Because the idea was their idea was with two cars to block the road of the car that my son goes to school, and
take him.
And the guideline was we should not hit anyone. So hitting was out of.
Were they armed, the people?
Well, I don't know. We never got through it.
Yeah.
But I don't assume.
You also mentioned that you were thinking of renting helicopters and stuff.
Yeah. So the idea was to get him out of the car, and then get him and I into a truck somewhere in compartment in a truck. Drove
smuggle you out of the country.
Smuggle to the borderline between Colombia and Brazil. From there, a helicopter will pick us up and then transport us into Brazil. And these guys were talking a lot about how important it was for the helicopter to go the right route, because it seems that it's a narcotic route, so they often shoot without warning, right?
Okay.
The Brazilian authorities. There was so much to unpack here. I mean, my mind was just, first of all, nervous about being part of this. Then the other thing is, what does it mean for my son to go through all these stuff, even if we succeed? If we don't succeed, I'm going to go to jail forever. Am I fit for this? So I need to get fit, in shape. And, there was so much going on. And eventually, we were quite far with all this. I unplugged. I don't know if I did the right thing. Honestly, I don't know. And I will blame myself for the rest of my life. Maybe there goes many times where I say, should have gone through this, should have done this. But I felt he was alive. I knew that. Her mom comes from a wealthy family, so she has everything. I mean, he's not suffering as such. I was not really sure what this will do to him mentally. I didn't want to put him into danger. And if things go wrong, I couldn't even be there for him later on. So there was so much. I said to myself, okay, this is not a movie. This is real life. And I said, I'm going to unplug. So, and we did so. And, for many, many years, every night, my wife and I, we talked about this situation. Maria and I, we were going for walks. It was filling our entire life. I cannot explain to you how difficult it was to get out of the bed. I I couldn't get out of the bed. But I knew I had to, but it was so tough. I remember the long showers I was taking. I felt like I was disgusting. I felt like I was not clean. So I was rubbing like to get clean. But I felt like I gotta get out of the bed. I need to do this for myself, for future possibilities to get united with my kid.
Yeah.
I need to keep myself healthy because of Maria and the life I love with her and to have with her, my ex-wife, and life as such should not take this away from me. What is good? My life with Maria is fantastic. I love it. I love her more than anything else. I feel like there is no reason, and I think this is a message. If there is one message I want to send to anyone that is listening, and it's whatever they're going to get from this, is destroying less rest of your life because of moments of where you are vulnerable is not worth it, right? Good times and bad times, they come and go, but they will come. So there is no need to, destroy everything. There is no reason for that. And as you also said, and this is not something I've said, and sorry to the listeners if it comes across as a cliche, but in Buddhism they say pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And this is truly correct, because I could say this: I had pain. We all get pains. I mean, different levels of pains, and we experience things in life. But it's your choice if you choose to stay in bed. It's your choice to say, am I going to suffer rest of my life because of this pain? Or do I want to embrace what is good in my life and enjoy that? And I know it's easy to say it and difficult to do it, but that's truly the one thing I would love the listeners to take with them from all the stories they are hearing here that I'm telling, right? That's in essence the best thing I can give away from me, I think. I hope it makes sense. But at the end of it, after all these years, eventually I got in contact with my son last year. I met him in Italy. He wanted to meet in neutral ground. 18 years old. I cried in the airport when I saw him late in the evening. Curly hair, as I had when I was young. Beautiful guy. But obviously he is a lot of affected by all the things his mother has said. He doesn't remember the years that, and yeah, so, and for some reasons about education and things that he wanted to have, so now he has blocked me on his WhatsApp for since we met last year. But nevertheless, I have hopes, right? I have hopes that this was a big step for us, and I have that in the coming years, as he grows and he starts analyzing and he understands that how much I love him, how much I'm just waiting, right? I'm just waiting and keeping myself fit. I keep myself mentally sane, because that day will come where he's going to call me and then he's going to say, you know what? I understand now. You love me, and I want to have you in my life.
How much time did you get with him?
I got 14 days.
14 days.
Yeah.
What did you guys do?
I rented a car because I thought a car is a road trip is always a good place to talk, right? And then so we went through the uh, Napoli and beautiful coastline all the way down all to the west side.
What kind of car did you rent?
A cheap car, a very cheap Toyota. It was quite expensive, to be honest, but I thought slower the car better, because we will be on the road longer time, so it will give us more time to talk. And I rented the Airbnbs to have, so he can get his own room, and because teenager, he doesn't want to be with his
Some
dad all the
space.
time, some space. Lot of good talks, and it was so, I really enjoyed it. He was seeking.
Which language do you speak with him?
English.
English.
So he has been going to English speaking school, so he was fluent. So that was quite nice. He was constantly asking about my opinion about everything. What do I think about religion? What do I think about,
Is he also philosophical like you?
very philosophical. But I think what he needed was a role model. I mean, his dad in his life, and he was seeking what type of identity I have, what type of father am I, what do I think about different things, and we were having so many discussions.
Someone to tell him that he needs to take more showers during those years.
Exactly, because there is a reason there are parents, right, to help you, to tell you what is right, what is wrong, ethic, morals, all those kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I haven't been there to shape that with him. But still, it's amazing how much he was affected. We were quite aligned on a lot of stuff, many stuff actually, even though we lived only together for 8 years. But but coming to today, where I am in my life, is I think about him. I met him 1.5 years ago, and I parked him for many years because I didn't have access to him. But now I opened up. I'm opening up here. I'm telling my story. I'm thinking about writing my memoirs. Every day I look at my Gmail, and I'm really hoping to get a kind of an email from him. So now the Pandora's box is open again. Yeah, that's where I am.
Did you tell him the extent you went to get him back?
Not the full extent. I didn't want to scare him first time I meet him, but I did tell him that.
I think he cannot even comprehend that unless he's a father himself.
No.
Or he's a parent, like.
Impossible.
I'm saying that as a father of two.
Yeah. What is really, really hard, even, I mean, today, and this will haunt me forever, is at some point I felt I can fix anything, right? And today I feel like the one thing that is most precious to me, most important to me, I didn't manage to fix that. It's quite hard. I'm fixing things at work. I can fix things, with whatever. If I want to do triathlon, I do triathlon. I manage it. I can manage to do whatever I kind of feel like I mentally set myself for to do. But I never managed to get my son back. That is hard.
Do you believe there are forces beyond your control?
I sometimes have felt like my mom and dad are somehow involved spiritually, from the other side. I don't know. But aside, sometimes felt like somebody's looking out for me. I don't know. It sounds like mumbo jumbo, right? But
Depends on who you're asking.
Yeah, but if you're asking me if there is more between earth and heaven, maybe there is, maybe there is not. But I sometimes have felt somebody is keep an eye on things.
Farzin, if you could talk to your 12-year-old self in that refugee camp, what would you tell him?
I would probably say, don't worry. Um, Life has a way of fixing things. Um, don't take life so seriously. And enjoy life more. We have only one life, right? Once it's gone, it's gone. You are not bulletproof. That definitely, I would tell myself. I would say, you at some point of time you might feel like you are bulletproof, but it's a perception. You're not. I will tell tell the truth about life, that not all marriages are happy until you die. There's also divorce. Sometimes you fight over a kid. My parents never talked about that. I didn't know things like that. I'm supposed to have a happy marriage, and then until I die. But that's not the case. It doesn't happen like that. Work doesn't need to be a happy work all the time. All the difficulties and how you should. I will also tell myself how I should relieve myself on behaving in a certain way that the society wants me to behave. I know this sounds abstract, but let me give an example.
Yeah.
So during the Iran-Iraq war, when some of the kids, they came back, then they died in the war, and they were coming back, the parents needed to, in Iran, the mom could pull her hair out. She basically, because she was so sad, she pulled.
Stressed.
Yeah. Because this got stuck with me from the early years when I saw that on the street, when parents were behaving, in extraordinary ways to show their pain. And do we need to do that? What I'm trying to get at is that society sometimes it forces certain traditions, forces some ways of behavior towards us that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that a mom should pull her hair out. Why? Sure, I fully understand she's in full pain. I don't expect her to pull. And the reason I'm making that example is that I think we should get away from our perception of how things should be, and what do you as individual need to do to cope with life?
Yeah.
With coping with your everyday. You shouldn't be worried about other people's, what they think and what they want you to do, or they kind of take on how you should behave, just to prove that you are sad or happy, or you have a lot of money, or you don't have a lot of money, or that. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I think the society just needs to back off. I think people with their opinion, they need to back off. People live their life in the best way they can. We do the things we need to survive sometimes, right? It's not easy. It's not a straight line. Far from it.
You mentioned that it was difficult for you to get out of bed. You were scrubbing yourself to cleanse yourself in the shower. What kept you going in those moments of desperation when you didn't want to get out of bed?
It's funny you ask. It's two things. I really remember. First of all, the great life that I have with Maria, and I knew without any doubt, if I drive myself to, if I don't manage to be the husband that she needs, and I need to be, it will, or a man, that will destroy our relationship. And that is very important to me. So I didn't want to jeopardize that. Second, which sounds crazy, but I felt like I have gone through a lot in my life, right? I mean, I kind of felt tragicomic if I fell because of this. I said to myself, you have come through a lot to, at this point of time in life, fell down and not be capable of coming up. So get up, right?
You made it this far.
I made it so this far. I managed to get away from war. I managed to live through foster family. I managed to, you know, death of my Sophie, and a lot of other stuff. So there is no room to give up here. So I managed to get up because of these two reasons. And when later on, I was hoping that Simon will come back before I married Maria, but the waiting time became too long. So when we decided to marry Maria and I for a few years back, after 13 years, in my speak to her, I said this. I'm gonna, and this is really something that I've made a decision on, because I have experienced so much in my life. I have traveled. I have been everywhere. I've done so much, and I feel like I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've done what I need to do. I've had a fantastic life. I have seen so much. I've experienced so much. All this is experience. All the early years of experience have made me who I am today. The fact that I can cope with up and downs. I'm resilient, and I hopefully can bring some enjoyment and confidence in other people's life, in my work, and people around me.
I keep having to think of you dealing with these people that were supposed to get your son back. You want to make justice. You wanted to make it right. There were things that were out of your control. The Farzin that's lived through all these obstacles and always overcame thought he can fix it. Where you are right now, sitting in front of me is a person who realized he can't control everything. But it took you a journey to get here.
Mm.
How did you start making peace with things you can't control when you unplugged? And that was the first time. And then there came other times. How did you learn to make peace with that?
It's so it's a matter of obviously survival, of course. But one thing that, to be honest, I don't know where I heard this and but I heard somebody said it to me, or somewhere, that you can only die once. You can only die once, right? It's a very, again, I'm so sorry towards the audience if some of the things I say are cliche, but they have meant something to me when I've heard it. And maybe it means something for the people that listen to this podcast. But I thought to myself, that is correct. I can only die once. So don't die every day. Right? I mean, dying multiple times is much worse than dying only once. So stop dying every day. Don't be nervous and like this is your last day. You will eventually die. We all will do, right? So, and let it happen only once. That's what really got me through it.
If Simon's listening, do you want to tell him something?
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you to come back, to spend some time with him, see him, get older, be there by by his side. When we were in Italy, we were out shopping. I bought him clothes, and he was asking me, "Dad, does this go? This shirt, does it match?" And I was giving him advice around so simple as buying a shirt. I want to be a dad, be there.
You want to be a role model.
Exactly. That's what matters for me. The rest is just what it is.
What does home mean to you now, Farzin?
Yeah. There is a brand, a clothes brand that I buy, and it says NN. I'm not making commercial for them. I have no affiliation with them, but the NN stands for no nationality. I don't know why they call their brand no nationality. I have no idea, but I have a couple of stuff from them because that's how I feel. I hate borders. I hate the fact that we as human beings can beat each other up because of borders. I hate that our kids get killed because of those borders. I could care less about borders, really.
Yeah.
Just give the damn things away, and So I don't feel I belong anywhere, but at the same time, I am. I would lie if I said I don't have some Persian stuff in me. I do. I am enormously in thank to the Danish society and country for taking me in and giving me the resources that they did. And I have lived in Holland, in Germany, and now in Sweden. I'm thankful to all those countries for hosting me, having me. I truly do not take it as granted that there was some room for me to be there. So I would say no nationality. I don't feel I belong anywhere. I can be anywhere. I can be happy in any country in the world. But I'm truly thankful to the countries that has let me in. I love Sweden. I love Denmark. Yeah. So that's the best answer I can give, I think.
I don't know about those countries because I've not spent more than just a couple of weeks in these countries. But having been here in Germany, I've asked myself this question a lot, like, will I ever belong? Or will my kids encounter problems because of the heritage that they get having a father from Turkey or being part of this identity? The way I see it is that every person that gets introduced to a culture, they can be a massive enrichment to the country. But there are necessary conditions that have to be met in order to get there.
Absolutely.
This is my take.
Oh, that is so correct. I mean, we probably could make a whole another session around integration and what it takes, the problems and the issues. And I mean, everybody follows the news and how it's presented and all kind of stuff. But the fact is, helping other people, it requires resources. It requires dedication. You cannot help other people by bring them on and then don't be their support and all that. That's not integration. It's not. There is no quick fix. People are with different backgrounds. Some are very educated. Some are not educated. Some come from horrible experiences. Some come from less horrible experiences. And every of these individuals will require different solutions. But today we want to have fixes that can be applied to everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just not doable. It doesn't work like that. And
There's no one size fits
there
all.
is no one size fit all. So, and yeah, but I mean, we do see I mean, the one thing that I've also learned throughout my life is anything has a pros and cons, right? I mean, there are some positive things with things, and with any positive comes also some negative things. It's very rarely that something is purely positive.
Yeah.
But migrating into another country, eventually it becomes positive if your investment is right and you get it right. It will become a tremendous force. But if you don't get it right, it becomes a problem. So you cannot blame. I mean, if people move or refugees and you don't help them, and then you say, look, it's a problem. Yes, of course it's a problem. I mean, it's like your car is broken, you put it there, and then you take a look and you say, soon it will start driving. No, it won't. If you don't take it to, don't give it attention, it's not going to move.
Yeah.
So, but if it moves, you have a car. It's fantastic, right? So, I maybe it's too much simplification, but in fact, if you bring people in, help them, and you get a lot of value back. And I hope what my brother and I hope we have given back to the society at least something back in return for the investment that Danish society put in. Right.
Farzin, not only through your taxpayers' money, I think you've made you've made an incredible contribution, but you also started Cool Minds, among many other things, a science center for kids. You gave lots of kids a hope and you believed in them. You've become the person maybe you needed when you were younger.
It's I did a lot of things for my ego and feeling that I'm worth it. Later on, at some point, and I guess it hits us all when we get through midlife, or I don't know, but for me at least, I needed to do something for my soul. I felt like throughout some years I had helped big companies to earn more money and improve their cost and all those kind of stuff. So at a certain point, I felt like I needed to do something that
Has
for the
meaning.
soul. Yeah, exactly. Also, the journey that you're going through, I think, is very similar, right? Doing something that defines you as a human being, as a person, as giving something back that really means something, defines your legacy.
I'm humbled by the fact that you're sitting in front of me, that you took so much time, came all the way here from Denmark just for this. I'm truly forever grateful for today.
Thanks, Safer.
Before we wrap up, I have 4 questions that I ask every single person who's been to this podcast. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and why did it matter to you?
The best piece of advice. I honestly think the best piece of advice is what I already mentioned, that pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. I think that's so true, at least through my life. I don't know if it means equally much for others, but do not let life take you as a hostage. Right?
I don't know about others, but I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your life you truly regret? If so, why?
There are so many things I regret, but I would say, especially during the years, early years in Denmark, where I wanted to be heard and I felt less, so I needed to show it by always going to the extremes, always be the loudest, always be the extremist, always to, when I analyze myself from those years, I'm not really that fond of myself. But, I needed to be seen, and I went quite far to be seen. Today, I can settle. I don't need to be seen that much. I'm okay with it. But back then, it was, and I don't like myself from those years.
Which weakness has later turned out to be one of your greatest strengths?
Eh, Absolutely, they always want, even when I'm not prepared for something, I volunteered in a school and saying, I take it. So never ever afraid of a challenge, never ever afraid of taking it on. But it's also painful because often, as an example, we got a gift from the Maria's kids when we came 50 to run a marathon, right? This is really defined. It's very simplification, but in fact, we had to run a marathon. I was like, of course we do. Let's do it, right? But it was painful to run the marathon. There was a lot of training that needed to go into that.
Yeah.
But also work wise, I always, if something, and I've actually said this to my manager also today, right, at IKEA, I said, don't give me something that others have succeeded in. If there is something that others give up or is too complex, I'm interested. That's what I like. So I think my weakness, the fact that I wanted to be heard, the fact that I was loud and I wanted to go to extremes, so also defined me to that I'm not afraid of challenges. I'm not, I like challenges because I want to get those complexities.
Your basic training in that military camp with, I don't know how old you were.
That's a military camp.
I think turned out to have left an indelible mark on you. You're still this fighter, in essence. At least that's how I see you. Farzin, if you could deliver a 30-second message to humanity, what would you say?
Well, I mean, in these days, without any doubt, I mean, let's not beat each other up and let's kill each other. I mean, I know, again, this is probably something on everybody's mind nowadays. The world has gone mad. I have a sweet spot for kids, obviously, and education. I think education is the only way we can make sure that there is peace in this world, by understanding life and complexities and how things come together. Education is the foundation for humans to interact in a decent way, I think. Now, that is too much to ask, I think, because it's probably not achievable, but hopefully one day. But in the meantime, I hope we just stop fighting over stupid things and kill our kids in that process. That would be the best thing. And saving our kids, basically. That's it. So simple.
Farzin, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. I truly, I can't express how grateful I am for this conversation. To have had to be in this room with you and just to go through your crazy journey. Something tells me there's so much more coming, especially beginning from now, at least in my crazy head. I'm already working on so many different things that are coming up, but I'm already looking forward to the next time we will be speaking. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much. Thanks.
Wenn du Teil unserer unumkehrbaren Bewegung sein willst, tu mir einen Gefallen. Abonniere diesen Podcast. Und wenn du jemandem dabei helfen willst, Erfolg neu zu definieren und glücklicher zu sein, dann erzähle ihm von Besserwerden.